All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025, and of course, we just finished with the wild card weekend of the NFL, no longer called the Super Wild Card Weekend, so of course, it's only natural, it's only right if we move on to the next round of the playoffs. Of course, that means we're on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, so pretty fun. 8 teams left because you only got, four games in each conference, or 2 games in each conference, whatever. Either way, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 games to pick from. So however you want to break that down, 8 teams, blah blah blah. Either way, we did really good last week. We went 5-1 on the picks. We did pretty good. We got most of the games right. The only one we missed was the Texans and Chargers. Kind of thought the Chargers would win that game, thought the Chargers would win. Didn't happen. Chargers played bad. It seems like Herbert and them just don't really play that good in the playoffs. Texans played really well too, so kudos to them. So before we jump into our picks though and everything like that, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Both those things help the channel out a lot. Also leave your picks down below. That really helps the video out, makes it do a little better. I always just like to see how people are picking. I try to get back to your comments as soon as I can. Generally just a fun thing to do. So leave how you did, what your picks are. Should be pretty quick this week, right? Anyway, so let's jump into the video. Thanks a lot if you're able to help out with all those things. Here's how we do each week. Of course, we have the regular season where we went 181 and 91. We go 5-1 this week, so that brings us to 186 and 92. It's pretty good. Looks like we can maybe avoid 200 or 100 overall losses. We'll see. Anyway, Saturday football. There's only games on Saturday and Sunday. The first game will be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be the Texans taking on the Chiefs in Kansas City. Chiefs are 7.5-point favorites with an over-under of 41.5. Obviously the Texans won their game. Chiefs coming off the bye week, so we'll see how they do, how well rested they are, especially since some of their guys haven't played really since Christmas Day. They've had quite a break, some of the players anyway. So I'm thinking this game is going to be pretty close, right? I think the Texans play pretty solid defense, and so do the Chiefs. I think so that'll probably keep the score relatively close and relatively at somewhere around the 20s for both teams. The Chiefs don't really tend to score a lot of points, so that's another thing that will keep it low. However, the Chiefs defense is really, really good this year. The Steve Spagnuolo has been playing really well, and they'll probably be able to hold down a Texans offense that can be really spotty, really inconsistent, streaky at times. An offense that kind of has to sort of live off the other team making mistakes and turning the ball over, short fields. Texans at times have trouble generating touchdown scoring drives if they have to go the whole field or from the 30 or something. So again, you could see the problems start to build. Plus, I don't know. I don't really know if Houston's really built to go win in Kansas City this year with all the injuries they have, with all the things that are affecting that team. I don't really think Kansas City at home is going to make the same number of mistakes that the Chargers made, allowing the Texans to take a win last week. You know what I mean? There are just a few things that kind of complicate the Chiefs getting this win, or the Texans getting a win over the Chiefs is what I meant to say. And it feels like there are just more things that kind of just outweigh it, where it's if the Texans were a lot healthier, this would be a prime kind of candidate for an upset kind of game, where it's maybe the Chiefs aren't. This isn't their greatest team of the last few years. I mean, they're still a great team. They're 15-2, obviously. They play great defense. It's just their offense is beatable. It's just, can you score enough on their defense? And I don't know, with the Texans having all the injuries that they have, if they're capable of doing that. Again, they're just also very inconsistent. So you're never really sure what Texans team is about to show up. So give me the Chiefs. This should be a fun game. 8 o'clock Eastern Standard. It'll be the Commanders taking on the Detroit Lions. Lions are 8.5-point favorites with an over-under of 55.5. Obviously, the Commanders coming off a win. They upset the Buccaneers, and now they have to come play the Detroit Lions, who went 15-2 and are the number 1 seed off a bye. Effectively, I like this game because, number one, I think of all the home field advantages, I feel like Detroit's going to have one of the most severe ones. So again, you have a pretty young team in its first big road playoff game outside of going to Tampa Bay, where you could hear very audible "Let's go Jaden Daniels MVP" chants going on in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. So when you come to Detroit, it's going to be a lot more very pro Detroit. It's going to be very hostile. That may be something Jaden Daniels isn't quite used to. He is from the SEC, but again, I think that at the NFL level, the fans can be a little bit strange. Detroit's a very loud place to go play football. So I think that'll weigh in the crowd advantage. I also think the fact that the Lions probably are one of the best running teams, top 2, maybe top 3 in the NFL. And then you have the Commanders, who are a bottom 3. I think they're number 30 exactly at rush defense. So that's a bigger thing. Whereas the Lions can probably just take advantage of the fact that the Commanders have a very poor defense, especially a poor rush defense, and run the ball, kill the clock, really just play ball control, keep it away from Jaden Daniels for most of the game. So long as they don't play bad defense or play bad offense and for some reason can't run the ball and keep the clock moving, I think the Lions will play keep away, keep Daniels off the field, run the ball out of it, wear out the Commanders defense all game, take the throws when they have to take them when they're there. But again, I think the Lions kind of have a team kind of specifically designed to beat a team like the Commanders, who struggle against the run, young team, young quarterback, very vicious home crowd, very, very pressure heavy defense. So I don't know. I think the Lions will have something ready for the Commanders offense. I think the Commanders will be able to bust some points off and get some points in, and keep it kind of close and weirdly exciting. But I ultimately think they'll fall flat. I don't really know if I think the stage may be a little bit too bright for a rookie. Maybe if the game was in Washington, I might think of it a little differently. But again, I think the Commanders' defensive woes, especially against the run, will be their kind of thing. Because again, if they sell out to stop the run, Detroit can just pick them apart through the air, and then they have to go back and start defending the pass, and Detroit will just run the shit out of it again. Plus, you have Montgomery coming back maybe for you know what I mean? It's kind of seeming everything is pointing toward the Lions winning the game. Could the Commanders get the upset? Sure. Daniels is incredibly clutch. He's proven to be a pretty solid NFL quarterback so far. The Commanders are a pretty good team. Quinn's a good coach. You never know. Anything can happen. But I think this is a bit of a mismatch. Not skill wise, but just the way the two teams play ball this year. Kind of just one of them things. The unfortunate playoff draw. Let's go to Sunday now, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard. You have the Rams taking on the Eagles. The Eagles are 5.5 point favorites with an over-under of 43.5. Eagles beat the Packers in a pretty close game, and then the Rams beat the shit out of the Vikings last night. Destroyed them. Yeah, I like the Eagles. This was the hardest game for me to pick. I didn't know who to choose. I was trying to decide, do I think the Eagles defense is enough to shut down the Rams offense? And I kind of think it is. There was moments in that game where I was like, man, if the Vikings were playing a little bit better defense, they could completely shut down the Rams. And I like the Eagles defense, a very good secondary, solid linebackers. I'm a little worried they don't have Nakobe Dean, but I still think they have a good enough front seven to get pressure on Stafford to kind of shut down the run, make the offense a little one-dimensional for the Rams, see if Stafford can beat you alone with just throwing it. And I do think that the Eagles have enough secondary cover to kind of deal with that. And I think that the Rams defensively won't be able to use a similar game plan that they used on the Vikings to beat the Eagles, whereas, you can't just blitz fucking Jalen Hurts a million times. Because again, you have to deal with the fact that they can run it. Kind of have to deal with the Saquon Barkley situation. Then you're also going to have to deal with the fact that if Jalen Hurts has a good game, you're just kind of probably going to get toasted. But hey, if you're the Rams and you can make Jalen Hurts have a bad game and if you could shut down Barkley and Hurts has a bad game, you can win the game easily. It's not like the Eagles are impossible to defeat. They barely were able to beat the Packers, and again, the thing is, can you shut down Saquon Barkley? And is Jalen Hurts just going to be having a bad game? Which is, very likely Hurts has a bad game. It's just, can you shut down Saquon Barkley to the point where you don't completely screw something else up and leave other situations like other players wide open, leave the pass game a little bit better off? So that's kind of where I sit with this one. I don't know if the Rams will be able to do both of those things and kind of have both of those things happen. It's pretty rare. I also like that this is in Philadelphia. That's a big advantage, outside in the cold and the weather that the Eagles are used to. Rams, they're not necessarily used to playing out in this kind of conditions. So give me the Eagles in this one. Final game of the weekend. This should be the best game is the 6:30 Eastern Standard. It'll be Sunday night. The Ravens take on the Bills. Ravens are 1.5 point favorites with an over under of 51.5. Both teams won their games. Ravens beat the Steelers in a pretty standard game, and the Bills beat up on the Broncos pretty good. Yeah, this one was also tough. I really. I just like the way that the Bills have been playing football a lot lately. Like, it seems like all year they've played pretty good defense and really good offense, whereas the Ravens have played pretty solid defense as of late, but there's still that weird thing in the back of my mind that keeps telling me the Ravens' defense is due for another collapse game where they can't do anything. Like, if we remember earlier in the year, they were losing games and giving up tons of points even when they're winning because their defense is very bad against, I think it's the pass. I know they've gotten better, but I do wonder if they'll just have a bad game. Like, it's just one of them things where I'm like, can I trust the Ravens defense against Josh Allen and this team enough to get a stop, where I know that the Ravens defense has been a bit of a liability this year, and I know the Bills has been too, but I've seen the Bills play good defense this year quite a few times, whereas the Ravens, I haven't seen it as much. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm lying. I'm thinking, and neither team's really safe with special teams this year. Both teams' kickers kind of feel like liabilities this season, for the first time ever with the Ravens' Justin Tucker. So I don't know. This one's kind of a tough one. Ultimately, I don't know if I trust the Ravens defense enough to make a play. Like, I think these are very even teams, very evenly matched teams. And I think it's going to be a mini shootout kind of game where both teams are scoring a decent amount of points. Ultimately, though, I trust the Bills defense to make a stop at least one more time than I do the Ravens defense. I don't know how many stops that'll be. I don't know what that will look like. I just ultimately do think that the Ravens will, there will be a moment where the Ravens aren't able to stop the Bills, where the Bills are able to stop the Ravens, and that'll lead the Bills to a very, very narrow victory. And that's kind of how I think that game plays out. Really tight win for the Bills. So that means I'm thinking it's going to be the Bills versus Chiefs and Lions versus Bills versus Chiefs and Eagles versus Lions for the NFC and AFC championships. So what do you think of my picks? Let me know down below. We're already at the end of the video. I know, pretty short. There's only so much we can cover in this one. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Make sure you leave a like, leave your picks down below, leave your thoughts, leave your record and all that stuff below. I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Also be sure to I don't know, leave a comment, subscribe, like, all the things that YouTubers usually say at the end of a video and all that. But I appreciate you if you listened all the way through. I can't believe we're already at the divisional rounds. So yeah. Next week is conference championships, and a week or so from then 2 weeks from then is the Super Bowl, and then we're in the off season, which is always the worst time of ever. Unless your team's already done, then you just want the off season to get here, I suppose. Either way, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. As always, it's go Lions, go Tigers, and of course it's always go Patriots, even though we're kind of dead. But hey, we got Mike Vrabel. Pretty cool. All right, peace out. As always, it's go Lions. Hopefully they win. Bye bye. Have a good one. Peace.